Good evening and welcome to a regular meeting of the Oak Harbor City Council. Today is March 16th. It is 6 p.m., March 16th, 2021. I'd like to call our meeting to order at this time and invite you to stand and join us tonight in an invocation led by Pastor Kevin Scott with the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And immediately following the invocation, I will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pastor Scott.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this opportunity to have this prayer on this occasion for the City Council of our City of Oak Harbor, Lord. Thank you for their willingness, Lord, to be involved in this civic work. Father, we thank you for your care and protection during these troublesome times that we've been going through. I would like to pray for our representatives in the local city, the state, and the national level, Lord. Give them insight and guidance and wisdom as they are dealing with this COVID crisis, Lord. And as they're also making their regular decisions that they need to make too, please give them wisdom for that also. Father, may we soon be able to reopen our schools, our churches, our businesses, our travel plans, and our borders, Lord, and give this group of representatives tonight in Oak Harbor the wisdom to deal with the decisions they have to make, is my prayer in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Scott. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Due to COVID-19, there is no physical meeting location per Washington Proclamation 20-28. Tonight's meeting may be viewed live via YouTube and replayed on cable channel 10. In addition, the public may call 623-404-9000 and enter the meeting ID number. That ID number is 149-766-1467 to listen to the meeting live. This is for audio only. Council members and city staff are participating via teleconference. The staff sitting in council chambers are all physically distanced at least 6 feet apart and will be wearing masks when they are not speaking. Guests that are included in staff presentations will be excused from the Ring Central meeting at the conclusion of the agenda item as appropriate. Roll call. Will the city clerk please call the roll? Julie?
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Pro Tem Munns.
Present.
Councilmember Heisen.
Present.
Councilmember Servadius.
Present.
Councilmember Wassinger.
Present.
Councilmember Wiesner.
Present.
Councilmember Mack.
Present.
Councilmember Goebel.
Present.
Mayor, all council members are present.
Thank you, Julie. That's nice to have all of you here this evening. Regarding our agenda, after the meeting packet was posted last week, our legal department received a request for additional review from a representative of the Oak Harbor Youth Sailing Program, and that's regarding consent agenda item C, resolution 21-08, accepting the Oak Harbor Youth Sailing Shed by bill of sale and approval of their use agreement. To honor this request, legal staff is requesting this item be removed and moved to our March 24, 2021 workshop meeting. So per staff, we'd like to remove item number 4C from the consent agenda. Legal counsel is also requesting an addition to the executive session this evening, so there will be an added item of discussion regarding potential litigation. Are there any other changes to the agenda? Okay, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended. Councilor Servadius.
Thank you. I move to approve the agenda with the removal of consent item 4C.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second to remove item number 4C. Would you consider also adding to your motion, Councilor Servadius, the addition of the potential litigation discussion?
Yeah, sorry, Mayor. I thought there was, so we've got 2 items for executive session then?
Yes, sorry. Yeah.
Okay, so, sure. I'll move to amend the motion to include the addition of the potential litigation executive session.
I'll second that again.
Oh, thank you for your patience, Councilor Servadius, for that amended motion, and thank you for your second, Mayor Pro Tem. Seeing no questions or other input, all in favor, say aye. Raise your hand. I'm sorry. Still getting used to that.
Aye for me,
Okay.
Erica Wassinger.
Okay, we've got that passes unanimously. Thank you very much. See, I think this evening we're moving right directly to the citizen comment period. This is a time when citizens may comment on subjects of interest not listed on the agenda or items listed on the consent agenda. Citizens may also comment on corresponding agenda items listed below. To submit a comment, please use the online comment form at www.oakharbor.org/public comment or email the city clerk at jlindsay@oakharbor.org prior to 5 p.m. on the day of the meeting, or call 360-279-4539 to leave a voicemail to be played during the council meeting. Call to leave a voicemail after 5 p.m. on the Friday preceding the meeting and prior to 5 p.m. on the day of the meeting. When leaving a voicemail for public comment, please state your name, your first and last name clearly, and limit your comments to 3 minutes. While not submitted as specific to this evening's council meeting, the city did receive the following additional comments. Since our March 2nd council meeting, these comments are provided here on the screen as part of the meeting record and were forwarded to the city council.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. We received 7 comments, and we'll display them now.
Okay. Okay, that concludes our citizen comments for this evening. We will move then now to the consent agenda. With the removal of item C, we now have consent agenda items A and B, and they will be approved as presented unless somebody's got a question. Okay, seeing none, we will move on then to mayor's comments. Community response to COVID-19. City facilities are open, but we would like to remind the community of our many options to conduct business and connect with staff virtually: electronic bill pay, virtual development application meetings, virtual boards and commissions meetings, and an online comment portal are just a few of the ways we have adapted to meet the needs of the community during this pandemic. More details and resources about the local impact of COVID-19 can be found on our website at www.oakarbor.org/COVID-19. Washington State moves to Phase 3. At his last press conference, the governor announced all counties in the state will move to Phase 3 starting March 22nd. The updates to Phase 3, including 50% capacity for restaurants, worship services, and retail stores, 25% capacity for outdoor professional sports, 50% capacity for gyms, movie theaters, and professional and personal services. Please visit the Washington State Department of Health website for continued information regarding vaccines and state guidelines for pending eligibility updates. Additionally, the number of providers administering vaccines has increased. We will continue to post updates on the City of Oak Harbor Facebook page as they become available. City employment opportunities. The city is currently accepting applications for a number of positions: city engineer, building official, streets department and public works, wastewater treatment plant operator, temporary accountant, and seasonal laborers for the MARINA and public works. For more information on how to apply, you can find this information at our city website, www.oakharbor.org/jobs. Federal government stimulus funding. The city is awaiting information regarding further stimulus funding. We will take the time to educate ourselves on the parameters of the funding and will then develop plans within the requirements set by federal and state guidelines. We intend to review the opportunities these funds may provide for the city and to look at potential projects that will work in partnerships with local businesses to meet our community's long-term needs and goals. There's certainly more to come on that. Celebrate St. Patrick's Day and shop locally. A number of our local eating and drinking establishments and stores are offering specials for St. Patrick's Day. I encourage you to shop locally. There will be a St. Patrick's Day cruise. Decorate your vehicle and cruise through downtown tomorrow, March 17 at 4 p.m. See details on the Oak Harbor Chamber and Main Street Association websites and the city's Facebook page. So with that, I will now turn to the council for council comments. Okay, not seeing anybody reaching.
I have a question, Mayor. It's
Yes.
Erica Wassinger.
Yes, Councilor Wassinger.
Oh, thank you. So I apologize. I'm having some Wi-Fi technical difficulties here at home with my iPad. But speaking of that, do we have any guidelines or dates when maybe we could get back to having our meetings in person? Just wanted to get an update on that front.
You know, there aren't any guidelines to my knowledge yet. We don't have any dates that have come from the governor other than, and our largest concern is our availability to the public at this point. and the council chambers. I don't know whether City Attorney Grant Weed has any additional information. Grant?
Thank you, Mayor. What I've learned over the past couple of weeks is as we've moved into phase 2 and phase 3 of the governor's reopening plan, there is provision for resuming to in-person meetings, but there are a number of requirements and restrictions that need to be made. You can only occupy your meeting space up to 25% capacity. All social distancing and safety precautions such as wearing masks must be observed. The meetings must be available for public attendance, and if you should push up against or exceed the 25% capacity, you have to terminate your meeting and resume it either in another location or continue it to another date. And capacity still needs to be provided for the public and council members if they wish to attend remotely. So there are a number of conditions, but it is possible to have in-person meetings if you can meet all of those conditions. If council should want additional information about that, I can certainly provide it, but that's what I understand the situation to be in a nutshell.
Oh, thank you so much for that information. And yeah, you know, I am not an expert on our building, you know, limitations or meeting those requirements, how difficult that would be. But I will, I guess, just trust staff to, you know, and our wonderful building department officials we have there to let us know if that any of those become a possibility. And you know, I hope to get back to being in person soon, but I'll trust the city to let us know when we can meet those requirements and safety specifications as soon as we can. I appreciate it so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wassinger. Okay, seeing no other questions, we will move on then to item section 6, public hearings and meetings. I think we have 3 items for in this section. Item number 6A, resolution 21-10, 2021 comprehensive plan docket. And I think for our presentation tonight, we have both our Development Services Director, Dave Kuhl, and our Senior Planner, Kat Kamak. So I'm going to turn it over to them.
Thank you, Mayor.
Like
good evening, Kat Kamak, Senior Planner. Sorry. Good evening, members of the City Council. I have a really short presentation on this topic. The City Council has already seen this topic at the workshop in February. I have a 4-slide presentation and I'll go through it real quick. If I can share my screen. I hope you all can see that. This is the annual comp plan docket process that the city goes through every March. We consider a docket for the year, talk about the topics that are being covered so that we have an awareness of where the projects are. So this year on the docket, we have 4 items: housing element, the JPA, UGA boundary and capacity discussion, the transportation element, active transportation plan, and our capital improvements plan. So the housing element, as the council is aware, we hired a consultant to help us with the housing action plan. We received a grant from Department of Commerce. This work has been ongoing for about a year or so. We are at the very tail end of this process. So this year we'll be looking at the housing action plan, and in a very few months we'll be discussing all the policies and strategies within it. So this will be a project that we will get done this year. The JPA UGA discussion is ongoing. We are discussing with the county at the staff level, trying to prepare for this discussion. The housing action plan will provide a lot of information towards that. So they're kind of interrelated and will support each other. The transportation element, this is the active transportation plan. The city received a grant from the IRTPO, Island Regional Transportation Organization. So we will initiate that project this year, and this will look at active transportation and how to use our existing right-of-way for that purpose. And then we look at the capital improvements plan every year. This is a very living document where we discuss all the projects that go forward in the next 6 years. And there are a lot of ideas on how to consider changes or additions to this document as well as we go through this year. So this is also on the docket. So these are the 4 items. The timeline for this, the Planning Commission held a public hearing on it January 26th, and they recommended approval. The City Council briefly looked at it at its February 24th workshop. And here we are, March 16th, for a public hearing. And after council action tonight, we will begin working on the docket items. Work is already continuing on many of these, but we will have hearings throughout the year. And when we get to December, we'll have adoption of the completed items. So with that, I will turn it over to the City Council. Our recommended action is to hold a hearing and take action on the docket. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, CAC. So before we do that, I'll turn to the city clerk to make sure we've gotten no input from the public regarding this item.
That's correct, Mayor. You opened the public hearing, and we have not received any comment regarding this item from the public.
Okay, so the public hearing is open, and we'll turn to the council. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Knapp, do we know when the county sets their docket for the next year? Is it in October, if I'm not mistaken?
I believe they set it at the very end of the year. We set it in March, but they set it in October, and they adopted in December, I believe.
Okay, we have been, well, since our attorney Marjorie Height was here, we've been trying to open up the JPA and the UGA so that we could do better future planning with population and where housing's going to go. And it seems like every year at the last minute, they drop us from the docket and say, nah, we don't have time for this year, and you don't have exactly what we want. So even if we get this, the grant, the HAP done, what else do we need to try to open that up? I mean, it just seems like they keep making it a moving target, and I know it's frustrating for those on council who have been there for a while, but it must be for y'all too. What can we do to try to be ready to hit them and say, okay, we've got this, this, and this, so put us on your docket so we can have a discussion. We can't even have a discussion because it's not on the docket. Just curious, please.
Absolutely, very good points. And that is exactly what we are talking to the county staff on. What is it exactly that we, as a city, need to provide in terms of information so that they can start discussion on this project? I think that's exactly what we're trying to discuss with staff on their side. So as you're aware, they set the docket for this year and decided that they were going to push the JPA discussion to 2022. However, we said, well, even though the county commission may want to take that topic on as a discussion in 2022, we as staff need to still discuss and try to find out the nuts and bolts of the information we need to provide. So that is mainly what we're trying to determine and provide to them. And we think some of that information is in the housing action plan.
Okay. Is there any way to pin them down and have them give you a list so we can go check, check, check and say, okay, here you go, because it just seems like, oh, that isn't what we meant. And they just keep kicking the can down the road and frustrating everybody. So I'm just trying to see if there's some way we can pin them down to be sure, because, I mean, this has been going on for a really long time. Thank you.
Okay, other questions or input? Councilor Servadius.
I'm happy to make the motion. I don't know if we need to formally close the public hearing before I do that.
Yes, we will close the public hearing at this time. Take it away, Councilor Servadius.
Thank you. I move to recommend that the City Council adopt the 2020 Comprehensive Plan Amendment docket items as presented.
Second,
Okay, we got a motion and a
there's your
couple,
vote.
motion and a couple seconds there. The recommended motion, or the motion was exactly like the recommended motion in your packet. Motion by Councilor Servadius. I'll give that second to Mayor Pro Tem Munns. All in favor, please raise your hands. So that,
Aye from Erica.
okay, that passes unanimously. Thank you. I will then go to item number 6B, ordinance number 1920, repealing and replacing Oak Harbor Municipal Code Chapter 21.100 model homes. And this evening, our Development Services Director, David Kuhl, will make this presentation. Mr. Kuhl.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Thank you all for your time and attention. This is, again, a fairly short presentation. You've seen these issues before, and I want to give you an update and help you to move forward. So I'll go ahead and share my screen.
We lost it. We lost it from the screen.
Did you have it up?
Not now. You had it up, but it's gone now.
Okay, I'll get it back. There we go. So thank you. This particular item has been with us a short time. As you know, we went through the process of going through a model home code a few years ago and found that that model home code worked pretty well with the Howards Point subdivision. But we had some concerns and folks wanted a new code to be developed. So this one tonight will be a complete repeal and replace. We've gone through so many changes to it. Rather than do the typical strikeout underline, we decided to just completely repeal the old ordinance and come back with a new one. So the background for this issue, normally a final plat is complete and all infrastructure is done prior to model homes being built. Again, there's a desire for more flexibility, and so this new model home code is proposed. Some of the new code options that came up during this process, the new code will allow construction of streets, water, sewer, and stormwater at the same time as the model homes are being built. all the infrastructure will need to be completed and accepted by the city before any model homes can be occupied. This approach will allow more speed by allowing the homes to be built at the same time as the infrastructure. While we were going through all this process, we talked to the development community and we found some needs to change our draft language. So we came back and decided we would allow the developers to start construction and then not put in the actual charged fire hydrant and have it ready to go until wood shows up on the site. So that would be your framing portion of the construction. So that's a bit of a relief, I think, to the developer. They'll be able to buy a little more time before they need to have all the fire hydrants charged with water. And also at the same time, the fire chief and his designee will sign off on that fire hydrant as well as an access road to the model homes. It won't be the complete final road, but it'll be a road that they determine is safe. As you know, people can fall on a construction site and there might be a need for an emergency vehicle to get up there to help them get off the mountain or wherever they might be building. And so they'll make the final determination on an access road for safety access to the model homes. Now, another thing, the attorney, Grant Weed, and I worked on, we came up with a process where they would put in performance bonds, restrictive covenants, and hold harmless agreements. And these will be required for the model homes to ensure the infrastructure is completed prior to the occupancy of the homes. What we're doing here is we're processing model homes and infrastructure before a final plat is done. And that's not normal. So under normal conditions, you have a final plat approved by council with all the insurance documents, and then you would start with model homes. So these performance bonds and restrictive covenants and hold harmless agreements will protect the city because we're allowing the development community to do something out of the norm. There's always a possibility that a final plat could fail, or that the economy struggles and something happens. And so you'll have half-built infrastructure out there. What these insurance documents will do is allow us the ability to either tear the stuff out if it's not very far along, or allow us to finish it so that it doesn't become a safety concern for people that are out there wandering around. So that is the basics behind the code change. Again, it's a complete repeal and replace. And so all the language you see in front of you is new. And hopefully you've had most of your questions answered, but we're available for any questions you may have at this time. And so here's a draft motion for you if you decide to move forward. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cool. So we will turn to the city clerk, make sure we've had no input from our citizens.
That's correct, Mayor. We had no public comment regarding this item.
Okay, we'll then turn to city council. So not seeing a lot of questions. There we go, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. It could be just my interpretation, but on, I believe it's the second page of the ordinance under 21.100.030, criteria for a model home permit. In number 2, there, it says the applicant shall submit and receive approval of the construction plans, including street, water, sewer, storm, sewer extension to serve the model homes in the phase to be constructed. All utility services and fire sprinkler systems must be installed and approved prior to final certificate occupancy. I understand that, but when you have "and," between utility services and fire sprinklers, it sounds like all the homes or all the buildings have to have fire sprinklers. I'm wondering if that might need to be wordsmith, all utility services, and if fire sprinkler systems are used, must be installed prior to final certificate. I don't know. It just, when you have "and" in there, it sounds like you have to have both. So maybe I'm looking at this wrong. Someone convinced me that it's not necessary, but it just seems like you have to have both of those things. And I can't believe that all the homes are suddenly going to have, I know there are some projects with the fire sprinklers, but most homes don't have it. So I'm just asking for some clarification from my other council members. Does it not read that way to you? It just seems like it to me.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Let's first, Mr. Cool, any comment to that?
Yes, we could certainly go back through where it says all utility services and fire sprinkler systems, and then put a comma and say, if required, comma, must be installed and approved prior to final certificate of occupancy. That could certainly be changed easily enough. In this case, normally your fire sprinkler systems are required from the fire code and the fire chief, from other portions of the code. And so this is really just mentioning it, but we're certainly available for any changes you want to make.
That sounds much better than what I had. I appreciate that, but maybe I was just looking at this on a different level. I don't know. I would appreciate that if we could wordsmith that in there on number 2, please. Does that need a motion or not?
So I think we could potentially include that in the motion to approve if there aren't any other changes. If that's acceptable, 2 commas and 2 words, comma, if required, comma. So what do you think, Mr. Cool? Would that be, we'll move forward. We have another question from, or hand raised from Councilor Servadius. Let's turn to Councilor Servadius at this time.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to say thank you, Mr. Cool, to you and your staff and to my peers. I think this is a good example of listening to the community of developers, and making some changes that are proactive and timely. So I appreciate the efforts. And I'm happy to, I'm looking up here on the participant screen. If there aren't any other questions, I can try and make a motion to include that language. Scrolling back up. So I move to approve ordinance number 1920 relating to model homes in chapter 21.100 of the Oak Harbor Municipal Code, with the inclusion of the words "if required" in section 21.100.030, section 2, as discussed.
Second.
Okay. We've got a motion and a second. Motion reads exactly like the recommended action with the inclusion of the comma, if required, comma, as discussed. Any questions about that? If not, we have a motion and second. Motion by Councilor Servadius, second by Mayor Pro Tem Munns. And I'll ask the council for your vote. All approved?
Aye from Erica.
That passes, it looks like that passes unanimously. Okay. Well, good. Thank you very much, and thank you, Councilor Servadius. Quick response there. That was much appreciated. Okay, we'll move to item number 6C, Marina Rate Increase Options and Resolution 21-11, updating Schedule D of the Master Fee Schedule. And for that, this evening, we have our Harbor Master, Chris Sublett. Welcome, Chris.
Hi, Mayor. Hi, City Council members. I'm going to share my screen here real quick. So tonight I'm here to talk to you about Oak Harbor Marina 2021 rate increase options. Just to provide a guideline of what I'm going to talk about tonight, I'm going to give you an update on the 2021 Marina rate increase. I'm going to provide some historical Marina rate increase information, give you an update on what we've done at the staff level to get this implemented, share a Marina Advisory Committee recommendation with you, introduce some new 2021 Marina rate increase options, and then hopefully seek a motion for the 2021 increases. So just some historical information. Back on March 19th, 2019, the City Council approved a resolution which approved a rate increase for the Marina that would be implemented on April 1st of 2019, 2020, 21, and then the last year would be 22. So we've already had 2 years of this, and we're moving into 21 and 22. Then last year, about this time, March 26th, due to the COVID crisis, Mayor Severns issued a proclamation delaying that April 1st rate increase until July 1st, 2020. And then on April 7th, the council approved that resolution. And that was a really great thing. That was something that the community, the voting community needed. It provided a little bit of certainty in uncertain times. And it was really a positive and well-received thing amongst the voters. So far this year, in preparation of the April 1st increase in February, we calculated and prepared the new rates and rate sheets. We posted those new rates on our Marina website, and then we created some QR codes so that tenants could see those rates on lines and put those QR codes on signs announcing the new rates around the Marina. To follow up to that, in March 2021, we announced the new rates in the Marina newsletter. We started working with the legal department to update Schedule D of the master fee schedule. And on March 1st, I presented the new rates to the Marine Advisory Committee as an informational update. It should be noted that throughout this entire process, February and March, I did not receive, and even to this date, have still not received any negative feedback from the tenants on the rate increases. I've had a few ask me, what's my new rate going to be, that sort of thing, but nobody's been upset about it. It was expected. But then on March 1st, 2021, when I presented them to the Marine Advisory Committee, what I thought was going to be an informational update turned into a discussion. And they discussed the merits of the scheduled rate increase, and they showed some concern that the last rate increase was only 9 months ago. And again, that was because of the delay due to the COVID crisis. I had envisioned that as just a relief, providing some people some benefits that may have needed it at the time. So then towards the end of the meeting, the committee made a motion to delay the scheduled rate increase from April 1st to July 1st. The motion was seconded and passed with a vote of 3-1. Absent was Mr. Hookey. He actually was at the meeting, but he lost connection, so he wasn't there. In talking with him recently about this, he told me that he would have been opposed to this rate increase, but he wasn't there, so it passed 3-1. So moving forward, there's really some challenges and some other options out there. Staff does not recommend delaying the rate increase until July 1st, 2021. This delay is going to result in lost revenue, and that lost revenue has to come out of somewhere, out of the budget. We've already passed the budget for this year. We're counting on that revenue. So it probably would cause some projects to be canceled or shrank down. And the ones that come to mind immediately that we would probably cancel or scale way back would be our B&E dock cement and whaler project that we've been looking forward to. And then as part of our DNR contract, we have to replace part of our log boom that grounds out along the south log boom and then right there in front of the harbor master's office. And we've been planning this for months, having discussions, drawing sketches, making mock-ups, that sort of thing. We still need to have a log boom, but it can't hit the surface. It can't touch the mud line. So we would remove the big logs and put some plastic piping in or do something else. We're really close to coming up with a solution. We were excited about it, and we had pretty much decided we'd run it all the way out the south side. But with this, depending upon the option that council chooses, we may just only be able to do the bare minimum to meet the DNR's requirement. I'll also add that in 2020, when the rate increase was delayed, it created some confusion and frustration amongst our tenants and guests. What typically happens July 1st, that's our busiest week of the year where crab seasoning is opening, we're getting ready for the 4th of July holiday. We get a lot of people into the marina, and it's awful difficult to bring them into the marina, say around the 15th of June, and charge them one price, and then July 1st, they get charged another price. It kind of wreaked havoc on the office and on the system, and we had to do a whole lot of explaining. As we look at that even further down the road, our small boat contract, just to give you an example, our small boat contract runs from September 1st to May 31st, and that's for our slips on A and B dock that are 24 feet in length. So on June 1st, if we proceed with this change, on June 1st, we would change their rate to $188.40 for the A dock slips. On July 1st, we would go back and change these rates to $193.20. This is a lot of, this could potentially and definitely will create a lot of confusion for those tenants. And it even expands out to the covered moorage in the 24-foot category. Again, on June 1st, we would change those rates to $251.20. That's the current rate. And then on July 1st, we would change it again. Coupled with the fact that we're trying to load up the marina, we're getting ready for the crab opening, we're filling up for the 4th of July. This just is not a good time, July 1st, to make this change. So moving forward, there are some options. Council can choose to move forward with it April 1st as planned. You can choose May 1st, June 1st, or even July 1st if that's your choice. This chart here outlines some of the pros and cons to the options that are available. Option 1 is continuing on with the April 1st increase as planned. It'll have zero fiscal impact on the marina because we've planned for that money, and we know that our tenants are ready for that. And this option also resets or allows us to set the rate increase for April 1st of each year as it has been in the past few years. And it allows the rates to be in place prior to the busy boating season, which starts in mid-May or June, depending on the weather. Heck, it's even been more busy down there the last few days because of the great weather we've had. So we're hoping that it starts real soon. Again, this is the option that staff recommends. And if you choose this option tonight, then we would also have to approve Resolution 21-11, which updates Schedule D of the master fee schedule. Option 2 is the May 1st option. We estimate that this will have about a $4,100 fiscal impact to the marina. It'll move the annual increase to May 1st of each year. And it does allow for the new rates to be in place prior to the busy boating season. Just prior though, if the weather stays like this, we'll be busy May 1st. Option 3 is June 1st. We estimate that'll have about an $8,300 impact to the marina. And this is getting into the busier part of the year. Again, this would also set the increase to June 1st. It is likely to create some confusion and frustration for the marina tenants that are coming in. We're already starting to get new boats in the marina. And again, a fairly busy time. Option 4, this is the July 1st increase, if you choose this date. That'll have approximately a $12,400 impact on the marina. It resets the increase to July 1st of each year. It is the busiest week of the year, bar none. And, it'll create a lot of confusion. This is the option that the Marine Advisory Committee chose. So here are the 4 motion updates. Option 1, again, is to continue as planned on April 1st and also adopting Resolution 2111. Option 2 is to adopt or make the rate increase effective May 1st. Option 3 is to make it June 1st. And option 4 is to make it July 1st. I'd be really happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Chris. Before we turn to council, I want to make sure there's been no input from our public of any type.
That's correct, Mayor. You open the public hearing on this. There are no public comments regarding this item.
Okay, then, so we're opening a public hearing at this point. Is that correct, Julie?
Yes, Mayor, that is correct. There
Okay.
are no public comments, so you may close the public hearing.
Okay, then I will do that. I will close the public hearing and turn to city council. And I see Councilor Wiesner.
Thank you, Mayor, and then thank you, Mr. Sublette. Fantastic presentation, as always, very detailed. And I really do get the big picture. And I guess, Chris, one question. Have you ever heard, I understand, of course, a lot of boats down there are pleasure craft, but there's some liveaboards, right? And I guess that's where this, hits home at. And I want to make sure that I've got this all straight in my head. A liveaboard tenant down at the marina, I imagine, would have the same rights as any rental tenant would have in the fact that if they were facing hard times or a hardship, especially with the pandemic going on, that they would be eligible for rental assistance through any of the programs. Have you ever had, for example, slip payment caught up or something by a rental assistance program? Are you aware of any of that?
Yes, we had one liveaboard who went to a church, and a church paid for their rent and their mortgage 1 month, definitely. And I think I had one more that we went on to a payment plan who got behind. We put them on a payment plan and they got caught up fairly simple.
So we've got ways in place to make sure that this is a heavy impact on the folks that are living at the marina. Well, in my mind, as we all know, this is an enterprise fund. You're self-sustaining. The money that comes into you folks is the money that you have to pay for the projects that are within the marina. You have a certain amount within the project fund to pay. You typically have to plan your projects well in advance because of all the regulations and obviously that the well thought plans obviously help typically save the city money. So and I truly saw the motion we had made last year as a motion to kind of assist at the beginning of that pandemic. I really did not see that as we were going to be shifting our entire plan, and the reality is, let's face it, if we shifted this plan, we'd be, instead of doing a 3-month assistance, we'd be doing a 6-month assistance. And I don't think that was any of our intents at the time. We wanted to, give everybody a chance to get their footing at the beginning of this thing with that shift. So, certainly appreciate the options. I love it. Keep options coming every time. That's nice. We like to know that we have the options. But I'd certainly, in this case, agree with staff that it doesn't make a lot of sense to take that double hit, put off some marina projects out of the enterprise fund, and obviously the folks that this may have the largest impact on, we've got some safety nets in place to make sure that we can catch them. So that's certainly the way I'd be leaning. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Councilor Wiesner. We'll turn to Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Sublette, great presentation. Kind of feels like the rug was pulled out from under you at that meeting. Because I know how hard council had just trying to get the budget for all the departments put through before the end of the year. And now 2 weeks before your plan rate hike that we actually approved back in 2019 is a bit of a scramble if you have to rechange how your budget is supposed to work as far as getting projects done. So it isn't just the $12,000 now. Part of that 12,000, I would imagine, goes towards future big capital projects like dredging. I don't know if you take a certain amount each month or each year. You have to put aside for big things that, because it's an enterprise, you'll have to come up with and pay for. Can you explain a little bit on that, please?
Sure. So the marina dredged approximately 10 years ago, back in 2011. We are getting close to dredging again. I estimate that bill to be somewhere between $3 and $4 million. Currently, the marina only has a fraction of that in reserves. So as we look at our budget, as we look at the revenue that we generate in our expenses, we always have that big dredge in the back of our mind. So staff works really hard at the maintenance level and at the project level and the office level at trying to find ways to save money for dredging, because dredging is the big ticket item for the marina without a doubt. And the way that we fund that is we like to build up our reserves and use as much of the reserves as we can to fund the dredging. And then last time we also got a bond, which the marina tenants are currently paying as part of their mortgage. Recently at the Marina Advisory Committee, we had a discussion. Mr. Goldman was there and led a discussion on the current dredge bond and the possibility of paying it off or refinancing it. That was just prior to this rate discussion, which is interesting. And we realized that if we pay off the dredge bond right now, it would completely deplete the marina reserves, and that's not what we want to do. So Mr. Goldman is looking into refinancing the dredge bond, which will save money, which will allow us to put more money away. So when we get to the dredging project, and it's not in the 2021 budget or the 2022 budget, but it is likely to start in the 2023 budget. It's going to be a big ticket item in that, and it's going to start with permitting and research, and then in 2024, hopefully we'll actually start dredging. But being an enterprise fund, the only way that we can afford to pay for the dredging is to charge for mortgage, charge for storage, charge for all of the things we do, and build up our reserves so that in the future, when we go to do this in a few years, we have to take out a lesser bond or maybe not take out a bond at all. We'll just have to wait and see how the voting goes. But all in answer to your question, how do we save up for it? What do we set aside? All the reserves that we have, we watch every penny of it. We're extremely frugal on what we do around the marina. Our theory is, can we make it? Can we rebuild it? And the last thing is, do we need to buy it? So all of those reserves that we have are, in a sense, going towards those big ticket items like dredging.
Okay. So that's a good point, because I think sometimes we lose sight what an enterprise fund is and how far in advance you have to save up money or reserve money in order to pay for something. And if we don't dredge, we can't get any boats in there except for maybe kayaks or canoes. And I don't think they need a slip. So there you go. The other thing I wanted to say, I appreciate the Marina Advisory Committee. But if I look at this is a suggestion. A lot of times we go along, but I just think in this case, because your budget's already planned, because you've already publicized before they came out with this suggested motion, I just feel like we need to stick to that 1 April, and that there is a way, if someone needs some assistance, then they can get help. And I love the idea that Mr. Goldman went down there for a meeting to meet the advisory committee and came up with some ideas. That's brilliant on both your parts. So thank you, both of you, for doing that. So that was all that I had. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Councilor Servadius.
Thank you, Mr. Sublette, for the presentation. I was just glancing, and I echo Councilmember Wiesner and Munn's sentiments. Specifically, Ms. Munns, when you mentioned all of the volunteer committees we have, whether it's Arts Commission, Planning Commission, Marine Advisory Committee, very much appreciate their input in vetting it. We don't always go along with those suggestions or their suggestions, and in this case, I too would probably I'm going to support option 1, the April 1st increase. I'm looking at on our packet, pages 134 and 135. If you look at folks who would have a boat, and I don't know what the average boat is down there, I'd sail, but from a 24-foot boat up to a 38 or 40-foot boat, on a 24-foot boat, you're looking at about, I'm going to round $5 a month, depending if they're monthly or annually, and up to a 38-footer, about $8. So, pushing this off 3 months or 4 months might save someone $15 to $30. I don't know, I'm just rounding. But as far as planning and what we've prepared to do, I am going to support the harbor master on this one and suggest we go with the April 1st motion. Mr. Sublette, this probably isn't, I'm just going to throw this wild idea out there. I'm sure you've had it proposed to you before. With the dredging and the issues that we have with that, has there ever been consideration to some kind of a breakwater actually being extended way out? Let's say, I think that natural finger sandbar that presents itself, that goes out to, I think it's G5. Have we ever looked at doing, if we talk about dredging for millions of dollars, I don't know what a breakwater might cost, but is there some way to trap, is that silt that comes from the Skagit? Where does that all come from? Is there a long-term plan we could look at to keep that silt out there somewhere rather than letting it work its way all the way into the marina?
Yeah, that would be a really great thing. We have not discussed putting a breakwater out there on the corner where you talk about. It may be a bit of a challenge since the Army Corps of Engineers controls that channel in the U.S. Coast Guard. If we wanted to dredge that channel, we couldn't. It's solely a purpose of the Army Corps of Engineers. As far as putting a breakwater out there, it's not something we've discussed or thought about, but it's definitely something I can check into, definitely.
Just curious, like I said, maybe not tonight, but just a thought, because, I watched a boat get grounded out there a couple days ago. And fortunately they got off, but there's that natural finger. So obviously there's permits and all of that. I don't know what it would take to build that up. And then on the other side, the Mailer Point side, just food for thought. So I'll stop at that point. And I would just suggest if we do go with option 1, we just break it into 2 motions. It looks like it'd be simpler than trying to combine it into 1. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Servadius. Councilor Mack.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I'm kind of looking at this here and kind of in agreement with Mr. Sublette. It was a good presentation, covered everything. There's only 120 days difference. And with, the nice weather and everybody anxious to get out, in my opinion, it's common sense. It's going to end up somewhere between now and July. And I think the sooner we put this out there, the better. Less confusion for everybody. The marina can get more stabilized, organized, not that they're not already, kind of thing. So I would be in favor of option 1 and just getting some things off the ground and getting things going. So thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Councilor Wiesner.
Thank you, Mayor. Barring any other comments from the rest of the council, I'd like to go ahead and make 2 motions. First one, I'd move to adopt option 1 for the 2021 marina rate increase, authorizing staff to increase the marina rates effective April 1st, 2021.
Second.
Okay, we've got
Sorry,
a
Beth.
motion.
No, go ahead, take it.
Motion and a second.
Thanks.
The motion is to adopt option 1 for the 2021 marina rate increase, authorizing staff to increase the marina rates effective April 1, 2021. That motion was made by Councilor Wiesner and seconded by Councilor Wassinger. All in favor, raise your hands.
Aye from Erica.
That passes unanimously. Okay, back to you,
And
Councilor
thank you,
Wiesner.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to make a second motion. I move to adopt Resolution 21-11, updating Schedule D of the master fee schedule.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second to adopt Resolution 21-11, updating Schedule D of the master fee schedule. Motion by Councilor Wiesner, second by Councilor Wassinger. All in favor, raise your hand.
Aye from Erica.
That passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Harbor Master Chris. We will now move on to Section 8 of our agenda, which is Professional Services Agreement, Oak Harbor Main Street Association for B&O tax reimbursement. And I believe we have our Finance Director, David Goldman, with us tonight. David?
It's all the way on the top here. Look at that. All right. Good evening, Mayor, Council. David Goldman, Finance Director. So this presentation is for the Oak Harbor Main Street Association Professional Services Agreement. A couple weeks ago, when we had the council workshop, I went over the history of, let's go to the next slide. I went over the histories and the rules surrounding the Washington Main Street program. This particular item is for the adoption of their professional services agreement with the Oak Harbor Main Street Association. Last year's PSA was adopted right around this time, March 17, 2020. And this PSA is substantially similar to what the council adopted last year. And the pledge is also the same. The $95,000 pledge is also the same as last year. And just to go over how that pledge works. So when a pledge is made, 75% of that comes back to the city as a tax credit to be used against the taxes that we owe to the state. So per Main Street, the maximum Main Street contribution is $133,000, and 75% of that is $100,000. So for a credit for all folks who are contributing, our portion would be $71,250 of that. So with a pledge of $95,000 or up to $95,000, Oak Harbor Main Street could find other potential contributions in the amount of $38,333 to make a total of the $133,333 limit that the state has imposed on each main street. If the Oak Harbor Main Street Association is able to find contributions in excess of the $38,000 figure, then the amount that we would pledge to provide them would be reduced proportionally. So staff recommends approving the PSA with Oak Harbor Main Street Association for 2021 and is available to field any questions you have.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Before we turn to council, I'd like to verify that I had no additional input.
That's correct, Mayor. No comments from the public were received for this item.
Thank you, Julie. We will now move to City Council. Councilor Servadius.
Mr. Goldman, if I recall, if all of the funds aren't claimed, then there's another open window, I believe, I don't know if it still works this way, where an organization, a Main Street organization, could go back out and solicit for more money if it was not all pledged. Does that still exist? And if it does, could the city be on the hook for any more then, or we're limited to the 95,000?
We'd be limited to that 95,000. The way that is going to be planned to work is we would be pledging up to $60,000 before that window closes, which would be the end of this month. And immediately, apparently at midnight on March 31st, the next window opens, and we would be there to hit the button to pledge the difference between 95,000 and 60,000. But it also depends on how much outside pledges the Oak Harbor Main Street Association found. If they were able to find or get pledges for more than $38,000, then the amount that we would pledge would be reduced proportionally from that. So the most we would be on the hook for would be 95,000.
All right, thank you. I'll support it.
Okay, any other? Okay. Councilor Wiesner.
Thank you, Mayor. Seeing no other comments, this is, a budgeted line item that we had in the budget. Obviously, this is a finale now that finally we've got the folks at Main Street with the board of directors and a director, right? So I'd like to make a motion for the city to enter into a professional service agreement with the Oak Harbor Main Street Association consistent with Resolution 15-44.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. The motion reads exactly like the recommended action in the packet. Motion by Councilor Wiesner, second by Councilor Servadius. All in favor, raise your hands.
Aye, from Erica.
Okay, that passes unanimously. Okay, we will move on then to item number 8B, which is Oak Harbor Marina, professional services contract amendment number 1 with Moffett and Nichols for FDOC and other dock repairs. And I think we have our harbor master, Chris Sublett, back.
Hello again, Mayor and council members. I have a quick presentation to share with you. So I'm here tonight again to talk to you about a contract amendment with Moffett and Nichols for some FDOC repairs. Just a little background, back in February 2020, while we were at our workshop that day, actually, the marina was damaged in a windstorm out on FDOC, and the damage is to the floats, the connecting rods, and the docks themselves. This is an insurance claim. So the deductible for this claim is $5,000. We also have, at the same time, we have a Department of Commerce grant for improvements at the marinas. And the grant work that we're going to do involves similar things that we're doing on FDOC and would require a crane for some of it. And the crane will be here to fix the storm damage that occurred in February 2020. So combining this work would result in cost efficiencies as long as we keep the two tasks separate, which we've been able to do on the invoices so far. Unfortunately, there's some new damage. In January, we had another windstorm come through the area. Winds in excess of 60 miles an hour hit the marina. Again, it damaged our FDOC breakwater, the floats, the connecting rods. Similar damage as in February of the previous year. We'd like to combine the 2020 damage with the 2021 damage. And again, this is another insurance claim. The unfortunate thing is that our deductible went up from $5,000 to $25,000. So it's a bit more to the marina. And you can see the picture there, gives you an idea of what happened. You can see that patio is sloped. Essentially what holds it all together are long bolts. The bolts are probably 20 feet long and they have broken. So just to give you a visual of what's going on there. Moffett and Nichols is the company that we've selected to do the design and permit work. And on July 7th, the City Council authorized the mayor to sign a contract with them for both the design work and permit work for both the storm damage and for the additional commerce grant work as well. So now moving forward, the new damage requires a contract amendment to the current Moffett and Nichols contract. And the contract amendment adds $7,109 to the current contract of $84,600, bringing the total to $91,709, again, just for design and permitting work. So the motion that we're looking for tonight is to authorize the mayor to sign the professional service agreement amendment number 1 with Moffett and Nichols, increasing the total contract amount to $91,709. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thanks again, Chris. We will turn to our city clerk to make sure we've got no input about this?
That's correct, Mayor. We received no public comment regarding this item.
Okay. Then I'll turn to council for questions or input. Councilor Mack.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Sublette, upon approval of this, curious as to, is there any time frame that all these repairs could be made on those docks down there?
Now, that's a great question. It is not like a normal construction contract where you approve the contract. Moffitt Nichols does a design and permit, and then we bring a construction crew in. There is a specific time that we can do these types of in-water repairs. This specific repair, if everything lines up well, would be done at the beginning of September timeframe and have to be completed by February 1st. They call that the fish window. That's when there's not as many fish in the area that they would disturb. So it is kind of a short time frame. It is anticipated that they would finish this work, no problem now.
So there's no issues with it. We're able to limp along until then, safety reasons or anything? No concerns about that down there now?
No, sir, we don't have any concerns. We're keeping the public off of those patios that have that angle on it. But it's not the patio is not gonna break off and float away, is what Moffitt Nichols assures me. They've looked at it and stuff. So.
Okay, great, thank you.
Mhm.
Councilor Servadius. Whoops, we can't hear you.
Sorry about that. I saw Mayor Pro Tem's hand go up at the same time. Are you going to make the motion, Mayor Pro Tem? Or if not, I'll take it. Okay. I move to authorize the mayor to sign professional service agreement amendment number 1 with Moffitt and Nickel, increasing the total contract amount to $91,709.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. The motion reads exactly like the recommended action. That motion was made by Councilor Servadius, and the second was made by Mayor Pro Tem Munns. All in favor?
Aye. America.
Okay, any opposed? That looks like it passes unanimously. Okay, that passes unanimously. Thank you. Our
Thank you
final
very much.
item for our regular agenda is item number 8C, contract extension number 2 with Pacific Groundwater Group, Inc., well number 9. And for this evening's presentation, we have our project manager, Alex Warner. Alex, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council members. So this one is a simple contract amendment for Pacific Groundwater Group on our Well 9 replacement project. They're providing us the design, specifications, and construction support for the project. The current contract is expiring at the end of this month. So we are seeking an extension of their contract through the end of March of 2022. Here's the recommended action, and I'll do my best to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Alex. Make sure that we've got no input from the public.
That's correct, Mayor. No public comment was received regarding this item.
Okay, thank you, Julie. We will turn then back to council. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. This well 9 is a city well, correct? This is like backup water if we need it, if something happens?
Correct. It's part of our emergency water supply system, and it's within a park on Heller Road.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to be sure I knew. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilor Heisen.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Alex. This seems pretty self-explanatory. I'll go ahead and make the motion. I move to authorize the mayor to sign the no-cost contract amendment number 2 to the professional services agreement for rehab of well number 9 with Pacific Groundwater Group, Inc.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. That motion reads exactly like the recommended action in the packet. That motion was made by Councilor Heisen, second by Councilor Servadius. So all in favor, raise your hands.
Aye, from Erica.
Okay, that passes unanimously. There are none opposed. Thank you, Alex. Well done. So we will then move on to our executive session. The council will now move into executive session to discuss potential litigation with legal counsel per RCW 4230-110, Section 1, Paragraph I, and to discuss real estate acquisition per RCW 4230-110B with possible action to follow. Anticipated duration is 15 minutes. Is that still the case with both items? Okay. Executive sessions are not open to the public, so we will head into the, give us 2 minutes to get into our offices, will you? Okay? Then we'll start that 15 minute.
The recording has stopped. This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, Lisa, are we back in the open session?
Okay, you're good.
Okay. I'd like to reconvene this regular meeting of the Oak Harbor City Council, March 16th. Notice at the time, we've been in executive session. It is 7:43. I'd like to reconvene, but we'll go back into executive session for another 10 minutes then at this time. Okay?
This meeting is being recorded. Good to go.
Okay, I'd like to reconvene this regular meeting of the Oak Harbor City Council. Today is March 16th, and our time is 7:55. We've been in executive session, so now we're back in our regular session. And I think at this point in time, I'm going to call on our senior planner, Kat Kamak, to talk about a piece of real estate.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Kat Kamak, senior planner, here to present a land donation. I'm going to share my screen. I have a few short slides to share with the council and the public. All right. So a few months ago, the city was contacted by the DeVoyne family, Mark DeVoyne specifically, and expressed interest in donating some land to the city that they own. The property that they were interested in donating to the city is located along Swantown Road, as shown in this map. The property is currently outside the city limits and the city's UGA. However, this does not preclude the city from owning any property outside, so the city can accept this donation, and there's no legal obstacle to that. So the land is owned by the DeVoyne family. It's approximately 2.79 acres. As I mentioned earlier, it's located in Island County outside the city's urban growth area, and the land use is rural lands, and it is assessed about $80,000 in value. So in order to move forward and to accept this donation, the city is proposing to enter into an agreement with the DeVoyne family so that we can do our due diligence of inspecting the property and making sure that all the documents are lined up. And so this is the agreement that's being presented to the City Council tonight. And this agreement is capturing both parties' interests. The DeVoyne family is interested in having this park be to serve a public purpose, such as parks, open space, or recreation. They have expressed interest in not having it as a dog park. They would like to dedicate this park to the educators of the Oak Harbor School District, and to be named as Educator Park. And they would like a sign and a plaque to go along with that. And some of the other clauses in the agreement is to accept the donation by quitclaim deed. The agreement also outlines a 90-day period for the transaction so that the city can, as I mentioned, do its due diligence to inspect the property. And the agreement captures some of the details of the title company and so on. So what the council is requested to consider tonight is to authorize the mayor to enter into an agreement with Mark DeVoyne and to process the gift of real estate. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Okay, so I assume that Julie, are you with us here? I assume that we've got no inquiries from the public.
That's correct, Mayor. I am here, and no inquiries regarding this matter from the public.
Okay, let's. I'll turn to council then. Councilor Servadius. I can't hear you. Can't hear you.
Thank you. We're also having internet challenges. Hopefully you guys can hear me, but that was all me not hitting the mute button. Mr. Kamak, I'm happy to make that motion if you would bring it back up, please. Thank you, sir. I move to authorize the mayor to enter into an agreement with Mark E. DeVoyne to process the gift of real estate.
Second.
I'd be happy to second that.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second to authorize the mayor to sign an agreement to process, maybe I should have you read that. Jack, maybe you could help me. Enter into agreement with Mark E. Devoyne to process the gift of real estate. The motion is made by Councilor Servadius, second by Mayor Pro Tem Munns. All in favor, raise your hand.
Aye, from Erica.
Julie? I can't see that. Oh, I can. Yes, that passes unanimously. None opposed. That passes unanimously. Okay. Thank you, council. Appreciate your extra patience on these executive meetings, and appreciate all your time. Thank you. Seeing no other business, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Motion and second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you. Thank you. Have a safe time.
Good night, all. Good seeing you.
Night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good night.